Welcome. In front of me I have the ZTE Nubia Red Magic 9S Pro, which is a complete mouthful, and I'll be going over unboxing along with a quick look at the device and its specs. So popping it straight open, which looks like nothing is actually holding it, so no knife needed. We have the typical packaging, though this is a little bit off. This makes it okay. The phone is also kind of like in a weird position. Hopefully everything is fine. This kind of looks like it's not in a way that it's supposed to be. And that is because the cable is was kind of propping it up. So yeah, this is something a bit weirdly placed. But anyway, so here we have a little pen flip right here with obviously a waifu. That also comes as a pseudo AI kind of companion here on the phone. Then in terms of the charger, this is a Type-C to Type-C, and it is a, oh there we go, it's at the front. Uh-oh. Let's try to put that back on, and let's find the tiniest text. So there we go. So this charger is 80 watts. Okay, you know what, I'm not even gonna attempt to show this on the camera, but yeah, it's 80 watts. You'll have to take my word on it for it. And then we get our Type-C to Type-C cable, pretty thick and robust cable, and that's about it. Oh, right, and in here we get, what do we got here? Red Magic quick start guide. Okay, let's be honest, I think all know how to quickly start our devices. And then we get a plastic case for the phone itself. Okay, yoink that to the side. So just like get it out of here. Oh yes, I can. Neatly slides out. Ooh, that is a, damn, that looks clean. Yeah, this looks pretty good. Let's find the power button somewhere. Oh, it's a circular one. Okay. Okay, so the device is booting up right now. So let's talk about number one, maybe the differences between this refresh and the original release of this device, which would have been the Red Magic 9 Pro. So the differences here are pretty minimal. It is a refresh, like I said, and the most important upgrades would be the clock speeds of the processor and the GPU. So they did increase it, and let me quickly find the original ones. So before we had the CPU octa-core. Let's just be on the same page right here. The processors in here are the same exact ones. So it's a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 in both the original one, the 9 Pro, and the 9S also has a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. The only difference, will, like I said, will be in the clock speeds, which it had one core was at 3.3 gigahertz, and then 4 core X. No, there we go. 3 other cores are at 3.2 gigahertz, so just 0.1 less, and then 2 additional cores at just 3 gigahertz. So we're already at where's the other one? Oh, and another one's at 2.3 gigahertz, so 2 more. And just compare that to this one. So here we have 3.4 as the highest clock compared to the, so it's like 0.1 gigahertz higher. Then we got 3 times 3.2, which that's the same. 2 times 3.0, same. And 2.3. Yeah, so okay, so going back to this, I just needed to kind of go back and forth between those two. So there's only one core that is being overclocked right here higher, and that would be the one that is running at 3.4 gigahertz, the Cortex X4. And the rest of it is basically the same. Now Adreno 750 GPU is running at 1 gigahertz, which is higher compared to the previous one, which I believe was just running at default clock, though it's not mentioned what it was, the default clock was. But yeah, so there is improvements in the speeds right here. And because we have higher speeds, the other improvement here, logically, is the cooling system. So they improved the cooling system somehow to make it even more efficient. And I do want to also point out that this does have an active cooling. Majority of the phones are using passive cooling to radiate heat through the glass back. ZTE was like, nah, that's too cheap. And here we have the active cooling. So this is a fan right here, right below the camera. And when you turn it on, it starts to pull air, blast it through the little chamber right here that cools the processor, and then just exhausts hot air through the other side. So yeah, pretty good design. Now let's talk about the actual build quality. If you know how the previous one was, almost everything here is the same. The only difference in terms of parameters will be the change in the RAM storage. So this device has two options, the 12 gigs and 16 gigs of RAM, while the previous one had a lower option of 8 gigabytes of RAM. So that's really the only difference right here. But for people that don't know, I'm gonna quickly run through this. And we're gonna start off with the display, which is a 6.8 inch display running a resolution of 1116 by 2480, which puts it at a 400 pixels per inch. It boasts an 89.1% screen to body ratio, and truth be told, it actually feels like this is more than 90%, as there's almost no bezels whatsoever around here. And in a second we should be able to see this. There we go. So you can see, yes, I know how to use navigation. There we go. So you can see we have symmetrical bezels all around, which are just fairly minimal. Actually, symmetrical wouldn't be the correct word, as side bezels look to be just a smidge smaller compared to the top and bottom. And probably that is because the top and bottom, if I'm correct, house partially the earpiece and mic and speakers, I think. No, there we go. We have a speaker hole right here and here. So never mind. So yeah, these would probably house the microphone and the speaker. So display-wise, it's actually the identical display as it was in their previous version of this, the 9S. Oh, sorry, 9 Pro, not S. This is the 9S Pro. And continuing on with the display, this is an AMOLED display boasting 1 billion colors, 120 Hz refresh rate, and a peak brightness of 1600 nits, so it can get pretty bright. Also covered with the Cornell Gorilla Glass 5. Now, if we flip it over to the back, we have our cameras, and the cameras right here have not changed, if I am correct. Yep, so they look to be identical. So we have a 50 megapixel wide sensor, 1/1.57 aperture, optical mid stabilization, and PDAF. Then 50 megapixel f2.2 aperture, ultra wide lens, 1/2.76, and then we got a just a sticker camera, which actually looks like it's not even here, and that is the garbage, absolute dog shit 2 megapixel f2.4 depth camera. So like I said, it's just absolutely useless, and they didn't even want to emphasize that it's here, as it is literally under the flash, not even part of this little lineup right here of the cameras. It's so small that you might not even see it at the first glance, which I honestly think it's a good thing. It's useless, doesn't serve any purpose. So yeah, another thing about the cameras, they are completely recessed below the glass back cover. So you can see there is nothing here. The only thing that you can kind of see that protrudes just a little bit is the flash, and it does have a little bit of a I don't know, maybe like a 0.5 millimeter, and probably even less, like a 1/10 of a millimeter protrusion right here. You can feel that it is sticking out just a little over the actual entire slab of glass. And if we place it down, there is wobble, but it's basically non-existent, I would say. You can hear it only. I can't really feel that it's lifting up or anything like that, unless I really am looking for it. So in terms of wobble, basically non-existent right here. And obviously if you put on the case, this will completely mitigate any kind of unevenness due to this little flash. But even without the case, it sits almost flush on the table. I presume this is actually protruding for a reason, and the reason is to protect the cameras right here. If it was laying completely flush, then your phone, the entire glass, would be touching always the table or the surface that it's laying on, so any kind of scratches would be easily transferred to the glass that is right here on the cameras. But by having this tiny little lift right here, it tries to protect the cameras from being scratched up. So it's actually a pretty decent design right here, as it doesn't really feel like the phone is lifted up, but it does try to protect the cameras. So it tries to do both at the same time. How well it's going to do it, that's a matter of figuring out over time if it actually protects the cameras from being scratched up. Guess we'll see. But in general, I think it's a good execution. Now, another thing that I didn't mention is the selfie camera. Now you might see that there is no camera here. And this is ZTE's approach to this. They're putting under display camera right here, and this display hides this camera almost perfectly. Like, you can see just a tiny bit of discoloration. It's a little bit lighter in blue tone at specific angles. I do want to point that out. It's at specific angles. If I just look at it normally, if I'm not intensely trying to find it, I cannot see it. And I'm pointing that out because I've been using before for almost 2 years Samsung Galaxy Fold 4, and that was one of the other devices that comes with a under display camera, at least on the internal display. And when watching content on the internal display with that hidden camera, I was able to clearly see where it was. The difference in brightness and resolution was noticeable. This right here, yeah, I can't tell it's there. It's just hidden super well, and I can bring it up like really close. Actually, I think it might be easier if I grab my phone and open up macro lens. So this probably will be the best kind of way I can try to show this camera. And like I said, I'm trying to show it. Let me just clean off my lenses. And just kind of grab this. So I am trying to find like an angle where my camera will be picking it up. Goodness, like I can't even see the, oh, there we go, found the angle. Now this is just straight up reflection. Oh, never mind, that's not the lens, that was my flash. Yeah, I sometimes get a glimpse of it. So the white spot that you can see right now, like right there, that's the flash from my phone. Yeah, that's as you can see, that's not what I'm trying to show. But yeah, it's super well hidden. It's very hard to showcase this, but like I said, under specific angles, you can kind of see like right now. You can see this. Ooh, oh, there we go. Momentarily you can see it. So yeah, the camera right here is very well hidden. Now, after spending too much time probably trying to showcase this, I do want to mention this is a 16 megapixel f2.2 wide sensor that records at 1080p 30 or 60 frames, which I also didn't mention. The back cameras support 8K 30 frames, 4K 60, and 1080p 60, along with slow motion 120 and 240. Now, going back to this camera, when it comes down to selfies, it's absolutely abhorrent. I'm not even going to attempt to show this. It's bad. But a lot of people want to complain about this and say that they should just add a normal camera, as this doesn't serve purpose. This is a gaming phone. I beg to differ. I don't give a shit about selfie cameras. I never use them. And what I care about when gaming on my gaming phone is the seamless display, edge to edge, no interruption. Does this perfectly. It adds this camera just if I would actually need to utilize it for some reason at one point. It's there if I really need it. It's not designed for me to actually be taking selfies. I'm a gamer. I'm not going to be taking selfies. So yeah, I have no problem with this camera being crap. I would have also no problem not even having this camera at all. So I do kind of like this approach right here to try to make it as seamless as possible, and the selfie suffers through it. But like I said, in my opinion, for a gaming phone, this is a well worth trade-off. If you want a good selfie phone, go pick up a Samsung or something. You will get the same kind of, not the same, but you will have a little bit worse performance, as this is the best phone when it comes down to gaming with its active cooling. Samsung's will fall off as when the processor starts to heat up, it will downplug itself, start to throttle just to not burn out. This obviously holds the clocks way longer, if not indefinitely, but you just don't get to take great selfies. Now, continuing on with the build quality, we have an aluminum frame all around with these capacitive triggers that do have also backlighting to them. RGB right here, you can kind of see this little line. That's where the light would shine through, and the fan itself also has lighting to it for some reason. Personally, I like to keep it off, as any kind of RGB lighting will consume more of your phone's battery. And while talking about the battery, this device has a stupid big battery. This is a 6,500 milliampere hours, and this device isn't necessarily that big. It is a brick, I'm not gonna lie. If I compare it to my Mate 20 Pro, which at one point I would have considered to be a big device, it's in the case and it's still being dwarfed by this gargantuan device. In terms of thickness, it's on a manageable side, similar to a phone in a case, I would say, if we can call that manageable. And we still didn't even put on the case. And size-wise, it's heavier than my device with a glass case. This is glass, as you can see, it's even cracked right here. So yeah, it does have some heft to it. It's not unmanageable heft, I want to also point out, but this device is packing a lot of hardware in here. So obviously it tries to look premium. Arguably it is premium. This is a flagship grade device, at least when it comes down to gaming, without this relatively obnoxious gaming style. I really like the more subtle look to it when it comes down to gaming. This, obviously you can remove this sticker. So in reality, the only kind of branding right here is the S9, which is the model of the device, the processor, and the Red Magic with this kind of bit of a gamery logo, along with cooling system plus, and that's it. There's nothing else around here that would signify that this is really a gaming phone. The fan that is right here is kind of looking like a camera, so again, that's pretty hidden. So yeah, really like this approach to just make it look like a appealing flagship phone that anyone could use without just feeling kind of embarrassed for the gamery aesthetics to it, like Asus, for instance. I would not want Asus, and not only because of the price, but just because how it looks like. This competes with Asus while looking better and costing literally half the price. So it's a fantastic choice, I would say. Now, while I was on the internals right here, I never finished that. I did mention the battery, and also it charges at 80 watts, which you would expect, with the charger being provided in a box for less than almost half the price of all the other flagships that come with the same kind of hardware as this one. I really want to give praise to ZTE. Thank you. This is how you're supposed to do it. Thanks for including a charger and not a shitty one in a box that just ties up the entire package. I now have a gaming phone that I can actually charge because you provided me with a charger. Thank you. And not a crappy one. 80 watts is a good charger. It's double the speed of any kind of Samsung charging speeds, which is just an absolute L for Samsung. Their $1,200 devices, nay, their $1,900 devices charge at 24 watts, I think. This is 90. Costs third of the price. Outperforms them. Thanks, ZTE. You're now doing just fantastic job, I would say. Now, that being said, the price right here is about 650 pounds. It's a fantastically priced device. it's one of the best values for the money you can get for what you get right here in terms of specifications alone. You might not be even a gamer and you might want to pick this phone up, as it is stupid fast device with a great display, being an AMOLED with a decent resolution, refresh rates, and everything that you expect from a flagship device. It's absolutely fantastic. And additionally, it adds things that other flagships don't, like a headphone jack. Who would have thought you can actually fit those still on here? And next to that headphone jack, you might see this little dot. That's an IR blaster. Another thing that most US brands and Japanese ones don't really include. This allows you to basically use your phone as a remote control that uses infrared. So any kind of remote controls that don't need to pair through Bluetooth. And that includes basically almost every kind of AC remote, some kind of, for instance, set boxes, along with your receivers for sounds and all that stuff. So you can control this with the phone. And additionally, the Bluetooth one, again, you can also use Bluetooth one as well on here. So you're all set. You can use this phone for controlling almost everything around your house. Now, another thing I started talking about was the RAM, and in storage wise, we have 256 gigs with 12 gigs of RAM. That's the base entry of this device. And you can spec it out to half a terabyte with 16 gigs of RAM, or the middle option, the half a terabyte with 12 gigs of RAM. The lowest end model, I would say, for me, it's already pretty good. 12 gigs of RAM is fantastic, enough. 256 gigs of storage, for me, that's enough. I don't need any more. I usually use half of that. So that is already pretty good storage size. But if you need more, keep in mind there is no expandable storage. Even though this device has some heft, if you need more than 256, then automatically go for the 512. Just know you most likely won't need anything more than 12 gigs of RAM, as we don't have too great of a multitasking capability right here. So it's not like you're going to be running 5 simultaneous applications at the same time. So you don't need that 16 gigs. That is an overkill. So yeah. Anything else left to say here? I've been gushing over this device as it is a pretty decent device. Last more or couple little things to mention. We do have under display fingerprint sensor. We have the gaming little switch right here. This is something that launches the phone into the gaming space. There we go. And that's also how you have easy control over the things like cooling, which right now is running. As you can see, it is lighting, and so it is pulling air through here and pushing it out through here. This is right now on a very minimum kind of fan speed. Like, I cannot almost hear it. Okay, I really need to put it next to my ear to actually hear it. And also, it's not a like obnoxiously loud whining noise. Here we have the toggle on and off for this, so you can turn that on, off. And in terms of, let's see if I can quickly find this. Oh, here's our waifu. I'm trying to see what we get right here, but it looks like most of the controls for this will be reserved for actually launching the game and then having access to clock speeds and all that stuff, as you can actually overclock this device. So because it's already supporting a active cooling, they do give you the option to overclock it. So possibly actually have more than 3.4 gigahertz clock on this, which would give you better performance. Though actually, no, my bad, because that would be overclocking the Adreno 750, which is the GPU right here, to give you better performance in games. Unlike the ZTE Z60 Ultra, this right here launches the game space. On the Ultra ZTE 60, you can get this to actually do other things. I don't think there is an option to remap this button to do anything else, though I could be wrong. I will look it up later on and probably include it in like top tricks or stuff like that. It will be absolutely amazing if we can remap this, as I personally wouldn't really care to launch the gaming space through the little switch. I can just do it through the dedicated application that is accessible somewhere here. So yeah, Last little thing to mention is the Android right here. So this is running Android 14 with a Red Magic OS 9.5 on here. And yeah, it just gives you the newest Android right now with pretty decent customization from their Red Magic skin over it, which I do consider to be to be good, but some people do have problems with it. So I did read some reviews though. Those were a bit old, dated, so from experience that I had with the Red Magic 9 Pro, not the 9S, I had no problems with the skin over it. It worked fantastically, and additionally it had some decent customizations in the settings, which we can go right now. So we have themes right here, and as you can see, this is an entire page where we can theme things like fingerprints, icons, lightings, animations, and so on. So it is pretty vast. We can also have customizations for like the status bar. And yeah, in general, I would say it's a pretty good customization section in general for this device. So yeah. Now, with that being said, I do have to say I really like this device. I might be a bit biased towards it, but from what I can see in terms of price to performance, it is a fantastic value. It offers flagship grade performance, along with features and feel of the device being pretty well made, I would argue. For basically almost a mid-range device price. So when it comes down to the best kind of devices, this is costing basically half of other phones like Samsung's, while offering the same kind of performance. So yeah, I genuinely don't think you can go wrong with such a phone, even if you're not a gamer, like I said before. And in terms of the look for it, look gamerly, aesthetic right here on the home screen, you can change that. So you're free to customize this to not look like this. So yeah, I highly recommend this device if you're looking for any kind of budget-oriented flagship phone, because that's probably the best way you can describe this device. Now, with that being said, hopefully you found this video helpful, and if you did, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.